Today on Nova Legends podcast, I have our playoff preview with local expert Jason Sterling. Jason was a longtime sports parent, dad at Stonebridge, helped out with the play-by-play there for many years. Jason is from, I always get Powhatan and Goochland confused. Which one, Jason?
It's Goochland, Julie.
Yeah, Jason played wide receiver at Goochland with the James Madison, but it's a big fan and resource on Northern Virginia football. Jason, good to see you. It's been a long time.
It has been, Julian, too long. I appreciate you having me on. I know we tried to connect earlier than year to do this, and we just couldn't get our schedules together. But playoff time's a good time to start talking some more football, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's been a wide open year, and I miss getting together with you guys, you and Brian. Um, but it's still wide open. There's really been no big decisions made. It's all to play for. No real big upsets. So all the I mean, maybe South Lake's a little bit in the playoffs snuck in there, but they're a good team. But let's start with again. This was a year of scandals, and this year this year was a Fairfax recruiting scandal where it was alleged and I think established and admitted that money was given for a player for rent so they could move into the district, or maybe after they moved in, money was given. I'm not sure the order. And then lately there was the battlefield sideline microphone scandal. Jason, when you hear about these scandals, what goes through your mind? Have they always been there, and just because of social media and the awareness, we're just hearing about them now? Or do you think these are kind of new and the pressure to win has gotten too much?
It's probably a little bit of both, Julian. I think it stinks as fans to hear about these things, and you want to give people the benefit of the doubt and like, make sure all the facts come out. And I know people are quick to jump on certain things depending on what side of the argument you fall on these situations. But it stains I think the students, right? And they're the ones that typically suffer the most, unfortunately. They've got to go answer questions, people ask them about it, and it probably takes away potentially from their play on the field. I know the Fairfax situation. Fairfax have been a good team, a really good team under Coach Taylor for a number of years. It's pretty deep playoff runs, and they're still in it. They're 5-5 this year, I think, but they're probably probably not on their way to a state title. So that was a tough situation. That unfolded over the summer, and still, Coach Taylor was put on leave, as you know, and I think one of the assistant coaches. And just when you think something like that's behind you, and we're moving into it, just of course last week you get the hot situation on the sideline with the chain gang for Battlefield, and some accusations there, and some, I think we've seen some of the still photos or videos of the electronic devices, what they were being used for. I'm not sure any of us know, but sometimes, while I say you want to give people the benefit of the doubt, sometimes where there's smoke, there's fire. So it's something I think, hopefully the investigation, will get the facts out. And if at all, any of that, in that Battlefield Forest Park situation, if it was used to gain a competitive advantage by, relaying information from one sideline to some coaches or somebody else. And I'm not saying that's the case, but if it was, that's a tough situation. I mean, that's really tough to see in high school football.
It's tough to see, but they did it so out in the open. That was the thing that it got me. I know the President Trump's a big believer, and if I think if you do things with confidence, maybe it's okay, but not to get political. But it's almost like it was so brazen that it's almost like it couldn't have they couldn't have had nefarious intentions. But also, as they say, stupidity is no defense. So just because it was a dumb way to do it doesn't mean you're absolved. I just it was just if you're trying to hide that. Um, if it was wrong, I think you would try to hide it. I just don't
I,
understand. But what else could they have been doing with this, with the microphones? I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, unless, Taylor Swift is blasting through that and they all enjoy the same music, or, I've worked some of those chain gangs before, and it's usually a crew of four. They're almost always from the home team. They're usually dads of players, or, connections to the team, and it's volunteer work. It's not the funnest thing to do for a couple of hours, because you're running up and down the sideline. Sometimes you're bending over to, grab the marker and put the little hook on it if you've got that role. And but it's usually one that's just, sort of factual based. The ref will tell you, move this down, or we got a first down, come on, let's go. And you stretch it out, 10 yards, or if you get a penalty, it moves it a little the other way. So I've never ever in my entire career heard of anything like that or seen anything like that. I hope again it was just, maybe they're relaying play-by-play information to somebody that's live tweeting the results or something like that. So who knows? I guess maybe just the four guys that were there that had the electronic devices are really the ones that know. And again, if some coaches were tied in, I'm not saying they were at all. I don't know that. That would certainly be a bad look. I think at best the optics are bad. At worst, maybe there's something more to it. So
So there's as you were saying, the best case scenario, they were just talking about the plays and kind of talking about the. So if you made an argument of why it wasn't nefarious and they weren't cheating, they could just be communicating so they do their jobs right. Is that the best case scenario?
I potentially, I don't know why you would need that type of gear when you're just working a Friday night high school football game. I can see having a cell phone in your pocket if there's an emergency and, your wife's in labor or something, you want to be able to do that. I'm sure the refs would be fine with that. I just, the way they were dapped up with almost, Secret Service type devices, it was just an odd look. I mean, I don't know. I've just never seen that before. So again, I hope it's much ado about nothing. I think that would please everybody. But you never know. I mean, it's interesting because Battlefield won that game. It was a little closer, I think, than what people expected. In the first round, Battlefield's always been a really good team. Usually a one or two seed in their region, and they were again this year with the number two seed. And Forest Park had surprised some folks this year. They had a pretty good year. So, and that score was a little closer than what people thought. Now, again, if there was information that was dutiful to the outcome of the game, that would be tough. And I think Forest Park is, regardless of what happens, they're done. I mean, they can't go back and get another game here out of this thing. I guess there could be some punishment coming for Battlefield potentially, but who knows when that would even get uncovered and solved and things like that from VHSL and or the Battlefield administration. I'm not sure. So
What was there an adjudication this week or anything this week that
the only thing I heard this week was that it is still being investigated, and you've obviously got to interview people, maybe depending on how potentially bad it would be. I guess maybe get their cell phones and see if they had some communication prior about a plan to do this, if it was something that was premeditated. I just don't know, Julian. I mean, it's again, I don't think any of us have seen this before, so I think everything that happens from here with that situation is really new for everybody. It was just weird. It was an odd look, and again, just when you think, okay, hey, we're into the meat of football, scandals are behind us, or potential things that have really taken the news away from the play on the field from some of the kids and the coaches. This pops up, but we still got some good football ahead of us. I'm confident in that, and again, hopefully for everybody, this was much ado about nothing. Because I would hate to see parents of players that were involved in this or associated with the program to look for this type of angle to go try and win a football game.
yeah, it's a strange way to try to win. I know you're not a big Facebook guy, but on our group, we have a Nova football group, and whenever there's a scandal, that's the only time we ever have any traffic. No one talks about the games anymore. I think maybe hopefully we get later in the playoffs, we will, but all of a sudden everyone wants to post different articles,
Yeah.
newspaper um, or media reports. So everyone becomes interested again. I mean, last year the whole nation was watching us because of the Hayfield situation, and
Yeah.
this year it was kind of this story was pretty big. I heard from folks around the state and outside the state, like what's going on. So people, I don't know if they enjoy it or is it a diversion? I'm not sure why people like this stuff so much, but they like it.
Yeah. I, for some reason, our society, I think, leans into controversy these days,
Yeah.
which don't ask me why. I have no clue. I couldn't explain that to you. There were a couple of other to the Fairfax situation early in the summer. There's been a couple other things throughout the state with potentially ineligible players that have come to light as well. Logan Thomas's sons, if you have done at Brookville, that was made a lot of headlines down in that area. Whether or not they were eligible to play moving into that area, garnered a lot of opinions on both sides. Another one at Verina, I think, was being looked at. They're a really good team, potentially a Class 4 title contender, certainly a title contender, maybe even a championship level team. They had a controversy around that. So to your first question, I do think today's environment with social media, conversation, you can get this out to everybody. It does feed the fire and it allows people to immediately talk about it, formulate an opinion, maybe without facts. You know, you and I are going to sit here and say, okay, this is what I think happened. We don't know with any of those situations. And the ineligibility thing is unique because I don't know if that's ever been crystal clear for anyone, right? With regards to zoning and, you know how these schools are. I mean, a school will move from class six to class four because they've been rezoned based on a new school opening. Well, if you're a family buying a house or moving into a townhome somewhere or renting somewhere, that's not the first thing you're thinking about. I mean, you're trying to say, hey, how do I get, a competitive rent? How do I get a mortgage payment that makes sense? You're not saying, are we technically across the line here because we're being told we can go to this school? You're not out with a tape measure. Okay, is this where the line's drawn and going to the county, asking for a map of, where that jurisdiction falls. So I think it's with the social media, it does fuel the fire of the conversation around it. And when something happens, people are on the other side of it, maybe with a team that is playing that team not as good, just lost to them, or they're in the way of their path to having a better season. Then of course they're gonna be the ones that are in an uproar. So
Yeah, and I think with the Logan Thomas situation, I think he actually owned houses in both jurisdictions,
yeah,
so it was kind of tricky. And I think that the irony of the situation is a lot of folks are upset, and they stay upset because Liberty Christian is allowed to play, and I guess it's probably
yeah,
10 miles or so from Brookfield, and I don't know if they have different rules or whatever, but they're always stacked, and I think there's always a feeling that they don't have to play by the same rules the public schools do. So and they have those great facilities at Liberty University. So you're
sure.
dealing with that as well. That was kind of interesting. In the Fairfax situation, I don't know. It sounded like the coach Trey Taylor took himself, or he was relieved. I forgot what, but early, and I think it was an assistant. It was
Yeah.
pretty quickly done, and they just kind of handled it quickly. And here they are. They actually played some good ball at times this season. Were you okay with them being able to play?
Yeah, I guess I was. I don't know what the outcome of that investigation. He was placed on administrative leave, Coach Taylor. And you are correct. I believe the last information I had on that was reported by multiple media outlets was one of his assistants as well. I believe Coach Taylor claimed that he did not know of the alleged payment. What again, whether that gets ironed out and if he did, I am okay with them. I think playing a season because what I hate here is if and when adults make bad decisions, the youth are hurt by it. The kids that have a freshman who's poured 4 years into a program who now is senior, doesn't get a chance to play an entire year potentially because the program's on probation and had nothing to do with that. That's where I would feel for the kids in any type of sport that may be punished by adult missteps if they're indeed there. And that's that example that you and I and people like us at our ages are supposed to set. To me, and I'll take this to my grave, I still think it means something. And I think that's important. The influence on today's youths, individuals, and what the world's going to hold for them. And sometimes there is a decision and there's a line, and you've got to understand, hey, I can sometimes butt right up to the line, but crossing it makes no sense, and that could potentially wreck a lot of things that I've done in the past. So I think with work and social life and everything, those decisions face each and every one of us all the time. Julian, do I drive 90 miles an hour on the way home, or do I drive the speed limit? And yes, I want to get home 10 minutes early, but it's not right. I could hurt somebody if I did that. So.
Yeah, absolutely right. Well, Jason, what were your general thoughts of the season? I felt without Hayfield, and Hayfield, I believe was even sanctioned in this year's playoffs. I think they would have qualified. Maybe I don't know if they had the power
Yeah.
points to get in, but I believe they're unfortunately. But generally, what do you think about the season? I thought it was pretty wide open.
I totally agree with you. I think for the first time, maybe in all six classes, and I know we'll talk some about the Fairfax schools, the Prince William schools, Loudon. which would be mainly class 6, 5, and 4. I don't know if there's a clear-cut favorite for the first time in a while in some of these classes. I think you've got a lot of really good teams. I'm not sure you have a super great team that sticks out in any of the classifications, particularly in the Northern Virginia area, that you can lean on and say that is by hands down the best team within that region, within that classification. I think you've got a lot of good teams that could potentially make their mark and find their way to a state championship or even a title. So I like that parity, and I think maybe it's just 1 year of it. I look back at some of the teams in the past, Oscar Smith, who's a good team again this year, and maybe a favorite to win Class 6. You can throw a Madison in there, who you could almost chalk up to say, hey, they're going to find their way potentially to a title game. They've got a couple losses on the season. Maury, who's always really good in Class 5. I'm not sure. I think they're potentially beatable this year. So that's the one thing I do take out of it as well is that we've got a little more. We've got some chances this year, I think, for the first time in a while, for some different champions to maybe emerge that haven't in the past, which is it's always great to see.
Exactly. I don't think we have like the superstar team like we had probably, especially if you count the Prince William,
Yeah,
the Freedom team. But I know Oscar Smith lost a lot of their coaching staff, but I think
good.
most of their and they're the sixth champ last year. I think a lot of their top players are back. At least Lonnie Andrews and I think Travis Johnson, the quarterback wide receiver combination.
Yeah,
Let's get to the northern region right away. The first game, and I think the most exciting game of the night, is the Madison. I think they're 4 or 5 time champion in a row of the northern region. Um, they're going out to Centerville. It's an elimination game. I saw the first game. I was on the sideline. Tremendous game. Went down to the
yeah,
wire in Centerville. They won a lot of games. I think they won 4, 5, or 6 by one score, and they drove down and scored. Centerville's 9-1, hosting Madison 7-4. Madison, the last 4 or 5 weeks, has played some of the best ball in the
yeah.
county. Matt Weiler, the running back, he played running back last year, but obviously Dominic Nicely was the feature back. But Matthew Weiler at 225, I think 6'2", 6'3", he's having a tremendous year. This game is wide open, and this could be an important game in who wins the state championship.
It really could. It really could. I think Centerville surprised a lot of folks this year. They've had some really good teams in the past, and maybe 8 or 10 years ago they were really some real deep playoff runs. I'm not sure anybody saw them going 9-1 though in the regular season, or maybe 8-1 in the regular season. I think they might have only played a 9 game schedule, but their opening loss, the first game of the season, was to Forest Park, who we were just talking about, ironically, back in
That's right. They lost
August.
to Forest Park. I forgot about
That's
that.
right. After that, they've run the table, Julian. You're right. They ended up taking on Madison. I think it was mid-October. I didn't get a chance to get to that game. I'm glad you were there because I think you described it exactly right. That was I want to say it was 35-32 or something like that. Centerville won that game, sort of a back and forth game, which you expect. And we'll see if Madison can flip it around. I will tell you this. Madison has lost the games they've lost this year. I think they've lost 4 games. It's a combined 14 points in those 4 games.
Yeah.
So they are oh so close to being almost undefeated. They had the Stonebridge opener. I think that was just a one touchdown game. They held Stonebridge to a touchdown, but unfortunately they didn't score in that game. And then a couple of other games, but they were all within 1 to 3 points. So 2 touchdowns across 4 games is all the margin of victory difference in their entire season. So they beat George Marshall last week. Madison did. I think it was a pretty high scoring affair. I want to say it was like 42-31. Uh, I'm sorry, they beat Langley last week. That's right.
And they were down. They were down
They,
that game.
they were down. They were down. That was 42-30. The games were very similar last week for these two teams. Centerville ended up beating Marshall. That's what it was. That was 42-31. I think the Madison score is 42-32. So they both gave up some points, and that's one of the things that I think concerns me potentially about Centerville. They can score. They can get up and down. Their electric offense, I think they average over 35 points a game. But they do give up around 27, if I was putting the math together, prepping for your show here. So that's quite a bit. And, I think if if Madison can find a way to, keep this game somewhat under control and not get in a super high scoring affair, I think they've got a pretty good shot. It's really hard to beat a team, especially when you play them close once, to beat them again twice. So I'm going to lean Madison in it just because of their experience. Don't let their record fool you. 6-4, Madison. These guys could find their way to a state championship game just based on Justin Counts' ability to coach and get his team better as the season goes along. But Centerville, I can tell you, Centerville, they can strike at any time on you. They are just a really, really good offense. So, which I think, sort of built out of nowhere. I mean, they were not projected to be this good, and it's great to see them playing some really good football.
They are. The quarterback, his name is Will Mahoney, and I believe he might be the coach's son, but I'm not sure about that. But he has three or four great wide receivers. I know Desmond. Let me see if I got his name here. Yeah, I don't have his name here, but Mahoney's one of them. I believe Solomon, Will Solomon's one of them.
Solomon, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm going to lose them all. Anyway, his receivers are great. They know how to get open. They can run after they make the catch. They come out of the shotgun. They don't huddle, so you have to be ready for them. It's a great matchup. And then the other side is another classic Concord matchup. That's right. All four of these teams are from the Concord.
They are.
So it was a whitewash against the Liberty, but South Lakes, who has been up and down this year. Jason Hiscock does a great job with
Yeah.
South Lakes, and I saw them against Herndon. But Westfield has been very solid. I think Westfield's got maybe two losses all year, one or two losses all year, and they're definitely in the mix as one of the best teams in the area.
They are. They are. South Lakes has been up and down. I think they finished the regular season even. I think it was 5-5. Westfield, I think, actually had three losses, if I'm not mistaken, Julian. I want to say they were 7-3. Now they played in the final game of the regular season. So Westfield and South Lakes played just a couple of weeks ago. Westfield won that game fairly handily, 40. I think it was 40-13. So it was, it was over probably sometime in the third quarter. But what I was shocked. I thought I had Yorktown actually. I thought Yorktown would beat South Lakes in the regional quarterfinal. South Lakes ended up pulling that game out 24-17. Uh, Westfield, their head coach Scott Vossler, they poured it on Washington Liberty. I think Liberty might have been a little beat up in that game, but they still dropped 56 points on them. So
Wow.
Westfield has great balance again, and typically when you see Westfield teams with good balance, they can make some noise in the playoffs. So they too, their three losses this year were by a combined 14 points. So they're one of these teams like Madison that was within, a few plays on a couple games of actually having potentially an undefeated season. And just thinking we'd be talking about both Madison and Westfield in a completely different light if the teams were 9-1 or one of them was 10-0. So I like Westfield in this game. It might be a little closer than that game a couple weeks ago in the regular season, but I think Westfield pulls away and wins this thing by a couple of touchdowns.
Yeah, they're definitely the favorite. I'm sure Westfield has got to be satisfied with the draw, getting South Lakes to into town. South Lakes avenged a horrible loss to Yorktown 2 years ago, I believe, when Yorktown threw a bomb at the
Yeah.
last play of the game. I think, South Lakes was undefeated that year. That was a big upset. So South Lakes was able to turn that around. That's a very underrated rivalry. South Lakes Yorktown. South Lakes used to be in the Liberty, and they just had a lot of fun matchups. So anyway, we'll see how that goes, and they're headed back towards an all Concord final, no matter how it goes. Let's go to the Occoquan, and the first I think it's safe to say the West Springfield has played some of the best ball in the area over the last 7 or 8 weeks. They have to be a very solid favorite against the traveling Fairfax team.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Fairfax, obviously, they had that cloud over their team, throughout the course of the summer. You're proud of the guys for coming out of that and ending up making the playoffs, winning a game last week against Alexander City. It was sort of close. I think it was in the teens, 18-13, something like that. So a pretty close game, but they did escape and move on here. But West Springfield's in my opinion, by far the much better team here.
Yeah.
I think when they played in the regular season against Fairfax, I believe they hung 49 on them. So it's a pretty good score indicator there, I think. I think you'll see West Springfield, sort of lay it here to Fairfax. They beat West Potomac in their opening quarterfinal round last week, 48-13. So they can score. They can get up and down the field, as you know. I do agree with you. I think as the season's gone along, they've been one of the better teams, if not one of the best teams in Region C. So it'll be interesting to see if and when they move past Fairfax, what they do potentially against someone like a Lake Braddock or maybe a South County if they're able to escape Lake Braddock. But I like West Springfield in that one a lot.
Yeah, and West Springfield was able to. I was watching the West Springfield Lake Braddock game online a few weeks ago, which was the big matchup. Lake Braddock seemed to have things well in hand late in the game, and the feed froze. So
Yeah,
I went to bed thinking, well, Lake Braddock won this game. I think they're up 10, late in the game, and somehow West Springfield came back and won that game. And because the next day I saw Lake Braddock's record, but they lost another. I said, who did they lose to? And they lost to West Springfield. So anyway, and because they lost that game, they have to go on the road to South County, a
that's right.
team.
Yep.
Coach Pannoni stepped down after last year. Their former AD, Marvin Wooten, who I believe went to Colgan this year, he told me they were going to be good this year. He told me South
Okay.
County is going to be good. And I thought he was just being polite, trying to say a good word about his old club. But here they are, hosting the semifinal game.
Yeah, they beat. You're right. They beat them during the regular season. So it was a 1 point game. I think it was the night before Halloween, or the week before Halloween, probably. I think it was that next to last week of October. 23-22, if I remember that score right. South County got the best of them. So that's a classic matchup. And again, new coaching staff in there this year. They pummeled Falls Church last week. They shut them out 45-0. But Lake Braddock is they're used to this. This is sort of their season now. They've become accustomed to winning and making some deep playoff runs. Their head coach Mike Dockery, he's always putting together a good team, and they ended up their game was probably last week was a little closer than what I thought. They beat what I was thinking might happen. Did end up pulling away from Mount Vernon. I think it was 34-13. South County though, their passing attack is phenomenal, Julian. It's going to be interesting to see how Lake Braddock defends that. But talking about these teams that were so close to having almost perfect seasons, Lake Braddock's two losses this year were by 4 points combined,
Right.
right? So these Fairfax teams that sort of go out and beat each other up, I mean, you don't see a lot of blowouts against the top teams. They're usually in that 1 to 4 point range, and which tells me some of these things could flip once you get them for a second time, and I think we might see that. I'm favoring Lake Braddock a little bit in this game, but I think it could go either way. I will tell you, Lake Braddock's quarterback, that guy is a big physical player. They've got a very experienced offensive line, which I think helps this time of the year, and they've got a really experienced defense too. They had a lot of returning players come back. They last year when they were really good last year too, as you recall. They had a lot of underclassmen that got on the field for them. So those guys have moved up. So many are juniors now, seniors, and to me, I think that may nudge them over the edge here against South County.
Yeah, well, should be a good game. I forgot the quarterback's name, but he's going to Norfolk State from Lake Braddock.
Tyrone Jackson, I
Tyron
think his
Jackson. Yeah,
name.
yeah.
Yep.
Maybe he's
He's a, I want to say he's like 6'3", 225, maybe. He's a big dude.
yeah. Maybe he's the next Michael Vick.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Vic,
Yeah,
Vic's got him. He can teach him his moves.
yeah. Well, let's go to 6B, which is primarily the Prince William County region, but they also have some teams from Stafford County as well. The first game, and somehow Woodbridge is a 4 seed, which is surprising to me. It's always funny. 6B is a little bit different because they have some combined districts in there, and it's a little bit tricky how they do the playoffs. They got some teams going up to Loudon and playing in the
Yep.
Class 5. But anyway, they traveled to Colonial Forge, who many thought was the best team in the state for much of the year. And they lost the game pretty late. I guess who they lose? They lost to the North Stafford or
No, Colonial Ford's lost to Riverbend.
that's right, Riverbend. Riverbend, who's really tough as well. Went to the state quarters last year.
Right.
Anyway, Woodbridge is supposed to be very talented. Some people think they're the best team in the area. They're rated number 9, I believe, in the Washington Post. Anyway, what do you think about the Woodbridge Forge game?
I think you're going to see one heck of a football game. Both of these teams are really good, Julian. Both of them ended up the regular season 9-1, and again, the Forge's only loss was to Riverbend, who ran the table this year. down in the Fredericksburg area. They ended up 10-0. Now they're a Class 5 team, so they won't factor into this region at all. They'll be probably talk about them in a little bit with the potential preview of what could come up against Stonebridge in a week or so. Woodbridge beat Patriot pretty handily in the opening round last week. I think that was 41-21. And Patriots, as you know, they're not a bad football team. Ford shut out Garfield 35 to nothing. Woodbridge's offense is a high scoring machine, Julian. I think they averaged 45 or so a game, and they were literally within a touchdown of North Stafford from having a perfect season. So Forge, to me, they hang their hat on their defense, particularly the back end of their defense. I love their secondary. They really the only teams that exposed them a little bit were Riverbend and North Stafford, two very, very good football teams. I think Riverbend maybe scored 41 on them, which might have been the high they gave up all season. They've got a very experienced quarterback, Colonial Forge does, Brock Brimall. He can hurt you with his arm, he can hurt you with his legs. I see a very classic back and forth game here. I don't even know who to call on this one. I probably lean Forge if you ask me to make a quick decision, but Woodbridge, I could easily see Woodbridge pulling this thing out. This was a game I would love to be able to get to see because I think you've got two really good football teams that could go pretty. The winner of this game could go pretty deep. So
Yeah, it should be a great game. I think definitely a game to watch. I think those Stafford County teams are athletic, they're well coached, they're tough teams, so they're always good matchups. Well, the other side of that bracket is North Stafford traveling to Battlefield, and I guess we'll have a new sideline crew for the game. Battlefield has got to be the favorite, but they haven't always delivered in the playoffs.
it's a good point. It's a good point, and I think that's the one thing that Coach Hatfield is probably that proverbial monkey off his back. That would be the thing that he would like to shake, right? Is being able to deliver deeper into the playoffs and put a state championship under the Battlefield Bobcats name there. So they did end up going 9-1, though. They're always a perennial power. I think their only loss was to Patriot, and when Battlefield and Patriot play, I mean that's always a tough game, very, very good rivalry game. Usually, goes back and forth, usually within a touchdown or two. That was back in October. So after that game, they won the rest of the way out. They did struggle a little bit with Forest Park. Now, obviously, there were some weird things going on in this game that we talked about earlier. I think they ended up beating them by 11 or so. North Stafford pounded Independence in their regional quarterfinal game. I think they hung 52 on Independence. So this will be a good game. North Stafford's a really good football team. There's a player out of Battlefield though. I don't know if you've had a chance to see this
Yeah.
kid play. He's a linebacker, and I believe he's a junior, so he's class of 27. His name's Noah Glover. That guy, that guy's got all-star written all over him, Julian. He's got multiple Power Four offers right now. I mean, probably 24. He leads that defense. He can motor. He can get there, and he will sting you when he hits you. So watching him play is really fun. I think he really gets that defense for Battlefield hyped up. Um, I think that the thing that impresses me most about Battlefield this year is that defense. They've held everybody to 16 points or less, so nobody's been able to put more than three touchdowns on them. But North Stafford's a well-rounded football team, very athletic. They can find the end zone on a routine basis, and that to me, North Stafford's a team that's gotten better as the season's gone along. So it wouldn't surprise me if North Stafford won this game, but I'm going to lean Battlefield in this one, just because I think they're just a little better. It's just some of the key positions in North Stafford. So
And Battlefield's only loss is to Patriot. Is that right?
Patriot, that's
Patriot,
it.
yeah. Yeah.
Patriot, and that was a 7-point game.
And that
So
was the first loss they've had regular season in 4 or 5 years, I believe.
for the first time, and they've had these undefeated regular seasons for quite some time.
Yeah.
And they always play typically pretty tough with Patriot. Those games are Battlefield have been winning them, but they were won on the fourth quarter plays and things like that. This time they weren't able to get them. So, and look, who knows? Maybe a loss in the regular season gives them the motivation they need to try and take this thing pretty deep. And maybe this situation with the chain gang, maybe they use that as motivation. Who knows? Right?
Who knows? Or maybe North Stafford does. Well, let's go to 5D, which is primarily a Loudoun County region, but also has Riverbend from Stafford. From Stafford County, outside of Fredericksburg. Maybe it's Spotsylvania County. Anyway, the first game is John Champ from Aldi traveling to, and they're 7-4, and they're traveling to Stonebridge. Stonebridge only has one loss, I believe, to Quince Orchard, the defending Maryland champ. They beat Dunbar from Baltimore. They beat Madison. Stonebridge, they've had a great year. Their schedule has not been quite as tough as it has been in years past, where they played, Good Counsel
Yeah.
and Martinsburg. They were able to put together a schedule that was winnable. But I mean, over the last 7, 8 games, they've been unbelievable.
Unbelievable. They're just real quick on John Champ. I went to the obviously you can only get to one game on a Friday night these days. I went to the Champ Briar game last week, and Champ ended up pulling that game out 28-17. They were down 14-0 in that
Wow.
game. So it was after that, it was 28-3 Champ. So they showed some moxie in trying to flip that game around, which they were able to do, and go get a win against Briar Woods, who was in the, certainly had a down year by their standards, but again, the Briar Woods was a state finalist last year, so they're obviously still have some pieces from that team remaining. So Lee Carter, their head coach, he said it's been a really good season for those guys. Now Stonebridge and Champ played back in week 3, so it's been a while. That was early part of the season. The final was 35-7 Stonebridge. Champ, here's a you talk about Stonebridge having a good defense. Champ was only one of 4 teams to score on Stonebridge this season.
Wow.
Uh, their regional quarterfinal game, like I said, they were down. Dominic Plush, their quarterback, he gets out of the pocket a lot. They roll him out quite a bit, I noticed. And he's a really good passer from outside the pocket. So that's something that Stonebridge will have to keep an eye on. But they've got some really good players: Luke Gonzalez, Tyler Kahn, some good all-around players. Now, a lot of those guys go both ways, so it'll be interesting to see if they can hold up for 4 quarters against Stonebridge. Stonebridge has the number one scoring defense in the state, Julian.
Hmm.
They gave up 3.9 points a game.
Wow.
Nobody scored more than one offensive touchdown on them. Even Quince Orchard, who shut them out 20-0, had one offensive touchdown, 2 field goals, and a defensive pick six. So they're loaded. They are loaded on the defensive side. They've got power 4 guys up and down their roster. Their linebackers are physical. Their back end may be the best in the state, and I don't say that because I'm having connections to them. They are loaded on that back end. They do not give an inch from a defensive standpoint. Their linebackers are physical, like I said. Uh, Coaches has 2 sons. Coach Golson has 2 sons that are playing. Kedrick Golson, who's going to Tennessee, that guy can change a ball game in just a few plays. I promise you. His younger brother patrols the secondary from a safety position. Chase Geeter, who's going to Syracuse, I believe. Xavier Wimbush, Zeke Wimbush's brother, he's going to Connecticut, I believe, to play. Langston Pridgeon, who's only a sophomore, he's got 15 to 20 Power 4 offers already. They're really, really good. My question for them long term, I think they'll be fine with Champ. Uh, Riverbend's going to pose a potential problem. Riverbend can run the football really well, so we'll see if they've got enough offense to potentially overcome it. Even if Riverbend gets a couple touchdowns, we'll see if Stonebridge can outscore them.
Yeah. Well, it's great that Stonebridge is scoring this year. Last year they had a really hard time putting points on the board. The defense was good last year. I did notice against Madison they seem to have most of their skilled players playing both sides.
Yeah.
Definitely the Golston kids, and but they've been great and they've been able to handle it. Well, let's go down to Riverbend and Potomac Falls, who really had a nice end to their season. And Potomac Falls is like sneaky good in every sport. It seems like they're good in basketball, they're good in soccer. Anyway, Riverbend, who was, I think they had a great record last year, and they lost on their home field to Briar Woods.
Yeah.
And I know that when I talked to Coach Burnett, he said that it was so obvious that Riverbend was going to run the ball, they just dared them to pass, and they put basically 10 people on the line and said, "We're going to stop your run," and they did.
Yeah. Yeah. Riverbend, they had a good running team last year. I think their offense is even better this year. They can pound you. They are extremely physical and big up front. They've got a couple linemen. When you see them, you're like, really, these guys are high school kids. They've got some big boys there that can move that line, and it's not just one back. A lot of high school football teams, as you know, they rely on a player to try and get them there. Riverbend's got 3 or 4 guys that they're going to hand the ball off to, and their quarterback can run too. So it'll be very interesting. I think they will be Pot Falls. Pot Falls had a great season. We haven't had a lot of times where Pot Falls' football team had gotten 6 wins, but they were able to do that this year. I think they beat Light Ridge in the quarterfinals, 37-22. Riverbend, of course, had a bye. So the way the Region D in Class 5 does it, because there's only 9 teams, only 6 teams get in, and the top two get buys. In that case, this was Riverbend and Stonebridge getting buys. So otherwise, you're going to have in theory, the second from worst team get a playoff spot. So that's just based on the inequity on the number of teams that are in some of these regions. So uh, the Riverbend's really good, Julian. I think nobody really, at least in the circles I talked to, had them being this good. But they are. They're the real deal. And I think you are setting up for an epic clash in Ashburn. I think the day after Thanksgiving between Riverbend, who would have to come up 95. That game would be at Stonebridge, and playing Stonebridge again, that incredible defense that Stonebridge has. I don't know who would win that game. I really don't. I think you've got a power running team in Riverbend who can move people off the line of scrimmage against a defense that most people can't move off the line. So it'll be very interesting to see.
Yeah, it'll be fun, and you're gonna have to put some points on the board against Stonebridge this year, and that's easier said than done.
But Riverbend scores 47 a game, Julian. So something's going to give here, right? You've got a defense that gives up less than 4 and an offense that scores 47.
Wow.
Where does that thing? I mean, you're talking about a clash of the Titans on what they specialize in and different things that somehow have to come together and figure out which one's got the heavier leverage.
Yeah. Well, people that I've talked to that know better uh, that tell me that Riverbend is extremely well coached, extremely talented, and is going to be a tough out. But we'll see. Even though Stonebridge is Riverside's rival, I'm still hoping it is our next door school. So I hope they do well. Well,
That's right.
let's go to 4C. This region is sneaky tough. It's going to be one of the best regions in the state in basketball this year because everyone is loaded in basketball. They're tough. The 4C might be tougher than Fairfax County, the Class 6, just because there's so many, not so many Division I players, but so many quality players in the conference. But let's start. We're still in football. Heritage is 7-4, and I saw them this year against Riverside, and they look great. They just didn't have any size, but they have some running backs. And County with I believe Montez Dyson is the name of the running back.
Yep.
I really like this kid. I think he's probably a 3-year starter. Um, County is a very good team. They lost one game across the border. I guess they lost to Jefferson High School.
Jefferson. Yep.
Yeah, which is probably a little bit of a surprise, but who knows? They might have got some home cooking up there across that border. But anyway, Heritage travels to County for they're probably 2 miles apart, so it's going to be a familiar matchup.
Yeah, it will be. And Heritage is one of these teams again that does not have a great history of the last few years of making the playoffs. It's really good to see them or doing anything in the playoffs. It's good to see them win last week. They beat Broad Run 26-18. They are a decent team. They really are. County's different though. County again, that one loss by 1 point to Jefferson. These teams did meet each other in the regular season. So again, if anybody's judging based on that, County beat Heritage in that game pretty handily. I want to say they shut them out 35-0. So now County did have a couple other close calls. I look at that 9-1 record thinking, oh man, that's doesn't get much better than that. They beat Sharonda by 1. They beat Millbrook by 7. Woodgrove by 1.
Yeah.
So I talked about some teams that were within a couple points of being 9-1 or 10-0. County was within a couple points of being 6-4. But your record is what it is. So I think the quality of the wins by Heritage though this year, it's just not on par with what the quality of wins by County. County's coming off a bye week again. Region C in Class 4 does just like Region D in Class 5. The top two teams get a bye. I think that bye week's important. You can get guys healthy. You can get more installs in from a playbook standpoint. So I like County in this one. I do think they'll beat them probably by a minimum of 4 touchdowns.
Oh wow. Yeah, I think they played earlier in the year. I'm not sure about that.
They did. They did. It was 35-0.
Okay. Yeah. 35-0. County, they have Jeremiah Davis,
Yep.
on defense. They have another, I think, Division I type player on defense as well as Jeremiah. And then they have a left tackle. It looks like he's like 280, 290 at County. County definitely has some players. Quarterback does a good job. Um, the other matchup is going to be a war. It's the Battle of Purcellville. This is a huge rivalry. In soccer, we call this a derby.
Yeah.
You got Woodgrove going across Route 7 to Valley.
Yep.
Woodgrove is 7-4, but they had a loss too early in the year that wasn't so flattering. But they played really good football the last 6, 7 games, and Valley's been very tough too. I think they lost one game, and who beat Valley this year?
So Valley lost to County
They
this
lost.
year.
Right. That's
So
right. That's
that
right.
both of those two teams were undefeated back in October, and that was a I remember this game sort of being hyped up as the
Yeah,
battle of County versus Valley. Finally, both of them are undefeated.
it was
Uh,
great.
County handled them that game 31-7. So it was I want to say it was very tight at halftime. County ended up pulling away. So
Yeah. Well, it looks like now Woodgrove is very young. They got freshmen, sophomores in skilled positions, but very good players. I was there. I just can't remember any of the names. But they're young, but they have some size on defense, especially.
yeah.
Valley. I don't think I saw Valley online against County, and I don't think that was their best night. But that's going to be a good game. Derek Barlow for Woodgrove does a great
Yep.
job.
He
Uh,
does.
yes, Valley's coach I forgot his name, but does a really good job too. So I do think that's going to be a great matchup. I wouldn't be surprised if we get 4 or 5 thousand people for that game. I think it's going to be probably close to being a sellout for that game.
Yeah. Yeah, I think David Bishop is that might be the Valley head coach.
Yeah,
These teams played in the regular season too, right before Halloween, and that was Valley ended up pulling that game out against Woodgrove, but it was close. It was 21-20, so a game that could have gone either way, as you can imagine. I mean, I call this the game of the three-car garage homes versus the four-car garage homes. So this one will be really neat to see.
yeah,
Valley had a bye here. They're similar to County up above. I think because of that bye, I'm giving the edge to Valley. But Woodgrove's a really good team. They pounded Tuscarora in the quarterfinal. Now Tuskegee had a bit of an off year, so I'm not too surprised. But they still hung 56 points on them last week. So they're starting to click on all cylinders and looking like sort of the Woodgrove of old when it comes to offensive football. But give the nudge to Valley at least here on paper. I think just because of the bye, the ability to get healthy and make sure they're set going into this game.
yeah. Well, just quickly looking ahead to next week, who in the northern region, who's your favorite to win the whole thing out of and it's all Concord district teams that are left?
Oh man, in the northern region, who's my favorite to win? Uh, oof, gosh, Julian, I'm thinking Madison.
Yeah, I
I,
keep coming back to Madison as well.
I
Going,
do, and I mean we've probably done this. You've had me on a few years and running now. Coach Counts. There's something about how he can not personally shrug all the loss, but how he can get his team a bunch of 16, 17, 18 year olds ready to play the next game after they just a lot of teams would say, "Oh, we're Madison, we just lost. That's embarrassing." Hey, we've got another game. It's a long season. Get us to the playoffs. Get us to the next season, which in this case would be the postseason, and we'll be okay. I just think Madison, I think they're crescendoing. They've learned a lot. They were young to start the season. They graduated a heck of a lot of guys. You talked about Nicely, the running back who's doing great at Coastal Carolina.
yes, he
Uh,
is.
yeah, he's got a lot of playing time. Now, check some of the box scores. He's got a lot of playing time at Coastal Carolina. That's how good he was. So he's getting, true freshman based playing time. I just like Madison. So
Yeah, I think Madison doesn't have a lot of speed this year. They're going to have a hard time with Centerville's receivers, but I think if
yeah,
they can control the ball, they're going to have to. I think whoever has the ball last has got a great chance to drive and score because I don't think either team can stop the other. Westfield, they got a great matchup with South Lakes, which probably makes them the favorite to me to win the
yeah,
regions because they're probably the most sure to advance to the final. But I don't want to disrespect South Lakes. They had a quality team. And how about the Occoquan? To me, with Lake Braddock, South County, and West Springfield, that's a pretty close call. Who wins the whole thing?
Yeah, it is. I think those three are better than Fairfax, in my opinion. It'll be down to one of those three. I think my best guess would be West Springfield versus Lake Braddock in the regional final, with maybe a slight nudge to West Springfield. But here again, if South County comes out of this thing, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, not at all. Yep. And then 6B real quick. That's the four. That's Forge, Woodbridge, North Stafford, and Battlefield. I've learned to pick against Battlefield. I'm gonna go. I think Woodbridge. I think if he's a 4 seed, if I'm getting good odds,
Yeah.
I think I'll probably take Woodbridge as a 4 seed that sneaks out of that region.
All right. Yeah, I hear you, and I wouldn't be surprised if we sit here on Friday night, look at that score, and Woodbridge pulls it out over Colonial Forge. Woodbridge is a really good football team. I'll give the edge to Forge, just because I think heading into the season, we saw what they had on paper. They've for the most part lived up to that. Again, losing to Riverbend is that's not embarrassing at all. Riverbend's a really good football team and has the potential to win a state title in Class 5. So I like Forge, and I mentioned Battlefield when we were talking about this matchup earlier. I'm actually gonna flip this over to North Stafford. I think you might see Forge and North Stafford play in the regional final.
Yeah, that would be fun for those teams because they always feel like they don't get enough respect.
Yeah.
And so, but like I said, great athletes, great coaching. What more do you need? I think in 5D, we're not going to argue. It's gonna probably come down to Stonebridge and Riverbend, probably two of the best teams in the state.
Yeah.
Maury is waiting in the wings, but in that matchup, and you touched on it before, and that game would be at Stonebridge.
It would be at Stonebridge. Just the way the PowerPoints, because Region D in Class 5 goes based on the historical PowerPoints or point set rating system. It was close. Riverbend, they climbed that last week because they ended up beating, I think it was North Stafford in the final game of the season. It was just some of the opponents, unfortunately, early in the season for Riverbend did not pick up any wins. They ended up playing, I think, King George and Chancellor early in the year, and both of those teams did not win a game until they played each other in the final. So the points that accrue as you beat people, if they continue to win games, you get more points. If they don't, you don't, and that's what hurt Riverbend. Even though they went 10-0, Stonebridge went 9-1. The strength of schedule, the opponent's wins for Stonebridge, with who they played, ended up putting them over the edge. So they will actually. They've outpointed Maury and Kings Fork and the teams from the other regions. So Stonebridge will, if they continue to win out, they would be home up until a state final. That would be at JMU. So
Yeah, that'd be great. And I think we probably covered 4C. We just talked about it, but I think Heritage is a huge underdog against County, but I don't want to disrespect Heritage. Great season so far. But I think County, Valley, Woodgrove, I think that's going to be a good. I saw the Woodgrove County game. That was a very good game, as we talked about.
yeah,
I think this region is up for grabs.
I do too. I do too. And any one of those three teams, I think Heritage is probably be the fourth out of those teams. Uh, I'm going to go back to a County Valley, just because I'd love to see that again, a County Valley rematch. Uh, and if anything, I think it would be a little closer this time. Again, the county won against Valley 31-7. I could see a rematch being a lot closer, and I could almost see Valley potentially pulling it out.
No, exactly right. Well, let's quickly get your thoughts. You're a James Madison guy. I believe you had a kid who went to UVA, though, right, Jason? Or
No, Penn State.
is it?
Penn State. Who my daughter went to Penn State, and our son went to University of Oregon.
That's
So
right. Okay. Woo. Yeah, that's good football. So I have a daughter, James Madison. They started out a little bit uneven, but they end up having another good year. And it seems like every year for James Madison is a good year.
it is, and I don't know how long they're going to be able to hold on to their current coach, Bob Chesney.
Oh,
There's some
we're
rumors
good.
floating around. Maybe UCLA's got him on the short list. Some other schools.
Wow.
We'll see. And he's deserved it. He picked up right where Kurt Signetti left off, and somehow JMU ends up getting great coaches. I mean, look what Coach Signetti's done at Indiana just in 2 years. I mean, if anybody ever put Indiana and good football in the same sentence, I would have to tell you you're not telling the
It's
truth.
been so many years.
It's
If ever.
those two things never went together until Kurt Signetti got there, and look what they've done. So it's great. Back to JMU though, it's great to see JMU continue to. I think they've got a difficult path though right now to get into the playoff picture. The American Conference with Tulane and North Texas, some of those teams. Uh, I think the committee looks at them a little more favorably. So it's an uphill battle. They'll probably need a little help in order to get into to that 12 team playoff potentially. So.
Yep. Well, UVA, I feel like the breaks have gone against us the last several years.
Yeah.
I feel like we've had a better year in terms of luck. We could have beaten probably NC State early,
Yeah.
and then we lost a really tough game at home against, I think it was Wake Forest.
Yeah.
But we have really scrapped and clawed our way to a decent season. I think we still are not out of the ACC
Right.
title game if things go our way. Is that
I
correct?
think so, and I think some tiebreakers maybe lean UVA's way as I was looking at that. Excuse me. UVA is not just a good story, Julian. I think they're actually a really good football team. I
Yeah.
do. Could they beat Ohio State? Probably not. Could they beat Indiana? Probably not. But the ACC is there for the taking, as you know, and I really hope Tony Elliott can find a way to do that because I think it would extend his coaching cycle at UVA. I'm glad that the administration, did not panic and move Tony Elliott out of there. I think he's proven that he can coach, and I like to see that. Now, recruiting wise, he's going to have to go up against James Franklin now for the best in the state. James Franklin historically has recruited very well, so we'll see how he does, at Virginia Tech. But I like what Tony Elliott's done with that team. They've got some really good athletes. I think UVA finally understood that they had to get to the portal and they had to go get people from other areas. As college football right now is all about getting players that did not play for you last year and giving them money to be able to do that. That's what it's become. And UVA was, I think a little slow to adopt to that, but I'm glad they've been able to, at least this year, their quarterback Chandler Morris, coming in. So it's good to see them do that. And I root for, local state teams. I mean, if Virginia Tech's got a down year, obviously here. So, let's have a UVA or a JMU go represent somebody. It'd be nice to see. It'd be nice to see both of them get in the playoff. Heck, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, the remind me the name of the coach for the new Tech,
James Franklin.
James Franklin. What was the issue with Penn State? I was at the Penn State Michigan State game this weekend
Okay.
with a friend of mine, and it's just so weird to
So they lost
hire.
three in a row before they fired him, and that was, the knock on Franklin, he was that he had a ceiling. He couldn't win the big game. He couldn't get over Ohio State or Michigan when it mattered. Big Ten championship game or late in the season or that type of thing. He, great in the regular season, he can get you 9 or 10 wins, 11 wins, but just couldn't win the big game. And then, this season was going to be their season. They were, either one, two, three, or four in almost every publication, every preseason ranking, and humming along. And they end up playing Oregon. They lose that game, and then they drop a couple more after that. And the administration just said, "Hey, we gotta get rid of you." So, I for $53 million buyout or whatever that was. I mean, that's Julian. I mean, probably another show we can do on college coaching salaries. I mean, it's just I don't understand it. I mean, I absolutely went to the wrong profession, obviously. Uh, so if I had it to do all over again, I'd find a way to be an assistant coach at a small place somewhere and try and beg my way to the top. But it's crazy. I mean, for any school, I don't care what kind of money you have, to pay 40, 50, $60 million to get rid of somebody. Just think about that. That's
Yeah, yeah. I don't understand the need to put those big severance clauses in contracts, and because I feel like they'd probably sign it, thinking things are going to work out pretty well.
yeah.
But I guess that's the way it is. I think LSU did the same thing. I guess they like paying coaches that are no longer working for them. So, well,
You,
look,
you and I,
Jason.
you and I would raise our hand to be fired for $50 million.
Exactly. Yeah, I have a good friend, Jason Coleman, who he played at Lake Braddock with Hubert Davis, and
Yeah.
Hubert has done great at UNC,
Yeah.
but Jason always worries about, oh, if things don't work out, and I'm like, Jason, if things don't work out with Hubert, Hubert is going to be fine. You,
Yeah.
you you should worry about us.
Right.
Worry about Julian.
Right.
Yeah, Hubert's is gonna do just fine. So,
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Anyway, well, look, Jason, I appreciate your time. It's always great to talk to you. Appreciate it. And let's see how it goes. Are you going to try to attend the game in person, or are you going to be watching online like the rest
No,
of
I
us?
think I'll try and get out. I'll probably hit the Stonebridge game against Champ here on Friday night. I mean, I would love to get to a couple of those. I'd love to get to that Woodbridge game. That thing's got excitement written all over it. So I'll see. I'll probably maybe try and be one of those guys in the stands following another game on my phone. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I may go out to I may go out and see Wood Grove against Valley, or I'll go to Madison and Centerville. I mean, I already
yeah,
saw the game this year, but I just can't see how it's not going to be a great game
I
because
know, I
both
know.
teams cannot stop the other team. So I mean, Madison's running game is for real, and
Yeah,
Centerville. I mean, Madison doesn't have a lot of speed in the secondary, and Centerville's got three or four legit receivers. So
yeah.
something's got to give. Maybe they can get to the quarterback. But anyway,
Hey, I've got some advice for you, dude. If the PA announcer says we need some volunteers for the chain gang, just look around. Do not go
exactly.
down onto the
Yeah.
field, Julian. I
Yeah.
just forewarning, this is getting out of control. So
Yeah. Yeah. I want to find out what the heck's. I really don't believe they did that.
it just it's just so awkward. I've never seen anything like it. So it makes me think I agree, something else was there and they're just not letting their story. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to believe that they would. And that agree, that out front with it where it's hanging down and you can see it and I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Anyway,
we'll definitely see, man. So look, Jason, again, I appreciate it. Good luck on the Stonebridge sideline crew. Don't bring any listening equipment, and let's get together soon.
all right, you bet, my friend.
All right,
Great. I
buddy.
appreciate
Appreciate it,
you having me
Jason.
on. See you,
All right.
man.
Oh, of course. Thanks.